I want you to imagine two different coffee shops standing right next to each other. One is empty, perfectly clean, and the owner is standing behind the counter with a desperate smile. The other has a line stretching out the door, the trash can is overflowing, and it takes 15 minutes just to get a latte. Which one do you walk into? You choose the line every single time. You choose the chaos over the convenience. Why? Because as humans, we are fundamentally wired to believe that if everyone else wants it, it must be better. We aren't nearly as logical as we like to think we are. In fact, after years of building businesses and studying the mechanics of how people actually make decisions, I've realized that selling isn't about the product at all. It's about psychology. There are 10 specific psychological triggers that dictate every single transaction on this planet. If you understand them, you can build an empire. If you don't, you'll spend your life wondering why your superior product is losing to a competitor who's half as good but twice as smart. We're going to break down all 10, starting with the one that makes you feel like you owe a total stranger your bank account. The first trigger is reciprocity. This is the free sample effect, but on steroids. Have you ever been to a high-end clothing store and they immediately offer you a glass of sparkling water or coffee? They aren't doing that because they're worried about your hydration. They're doing it because the second you take that glass, a tiny invisible debt is created in your brain. Evolutionarily, humans survived because we shared resources. If I give you a piece of my kill today, you feel obligated to help me tomorrow. In business, if you give away massive value up front, true, life-changing value without asking for a dime, the customer feels an immense psychological pressure to even the score. This is why the best businesses in the world give away their best secrets for free. They know that by the time the customer is ready to buy, the sense of obligation is so high that the sale is already closed. That leads to the second trigger, which is social proof. This is the coffee shop line I mentioned earlier. We are pack animals. We look to others to determine what is safe and what is valuable. If you see a website with 0 reviews, you feel a physical sense of hesitation. But if you see a sold out sign or a ticker showing that 5,000 people just bought the same thing, your brain stops asking, "Is this good?" and starts asking, "How do I get mine before it's gone?" The most successful leaders don't just tell people they're the best. They show a crowd of people who are already convinced. They lean into the bestseller status, the testimonials, and the community. They make the customer feel like by not buying, they are the one person standing outside the party while everyone else is inside having the time of their lives. But even if everyone else is doing it, you might still hesitate unless there's a reason to act now. That's the third trigger, scarcity. This is the most abused trigger in marketing, but when it's real, it is the most powerful force in the world. Human beings are hardwired to value things that are in short supply. It's a survival mechanism. If there's only one tree with fruit left, you run toward it. In business, scarcity creates a fear of loss that is much stronger than the desire for gain. We hate losing things more than we love winning them. If you tell someone they can save $500, they might listen. If you tell them that at midnight $500 will be taken out of their pocket forever, they will act. The key here is integrity. Fake scarcity kills brands. Real scarcity, like a limited-run product or a window of time that actually closes, creates legends. The fourth trigger is authority. We are conditioned from birth to follow the person in the lab coat, the uniform, or the suit. I remember seeing a study where a man crossed the street against a red light. When he was wearing a casual t-shirt, almost no one followed him. When he wore a well-tailored business suit, dozens of people walked right into traffic behind him. In your business, you have to look the part before you can act the part. This isn't about being fake, it's about signaling. High-quality design, clear communication, and professional associations all act as authority markers. If you look like an expert, people will treat your words as gospel. If you look like an amateur, they'll negotiate with you over pennies. Before we get to the fifth trigger, I want to talk to you about the actual structure of your business. Most people are struggling because they're trying to use these triggers to sell a product that requires them to do all the work. If you want to start fixing your business today, you need to step out of the doer role.
We've put together a free checklist that helps you audit exactly where you're wasting time. It takes about 15 minutes to go through, and it can save you 10+ hours every single week by showing you how to systematize your operations. You can grab that at the link in the description below. The fifth trigger is liking. It sounds simple, but it's profound. We like people we like. But why do we like people? Usually, it's because of two things: similarity and praise. We like people who are like us, and we like people who like us. This is why the most effective sales copies don't use corporate jargon. They use the language of the customer. They say, "I've been where you are. I felt the same frustration." They build a bridge of shared experience. If a customer feels like you get them, the walls come down. You're no longer a salesperson, you're a friend giving advice, and you don't negotiate with friends, you trust them. The sixth trigger is commitment and consistency. Once we take a stand or make a small commitment, we feel a massive internal pressure to follow through so we don't look hypocritical. If I can get you to say yes to a small, easy question, you are 10 times more likely to say yes to a big, difficult one later. This is why foot-in-the-door techniques work so well. Successful CEOs don't try to sell the $10,000 package on the first call. They sell a $7 trial or a free consultation, or even just a newsletter sign-up. Once the customer has identified themselves as someone who likes this brand, their brain will work overtime to justify future purchases to stay consistent with that identity. Trigger 7 is contrast. Our brains are terrible at judging absolute value, but we're great at judging relative value. If I show you a watch that costs $2,000, you might think it's expensive. But if I first show you 3 watches that cost $15,000 and then show you the $2,000 watch, it suddenly looks like a bargain. You didn't change the watch, you changed the context. The best leaders always anchor their price against a much larger cost: the cost of staying the same, the cost of the problem, or the price of a more expensive alternative. When you change the frame of reference, you change the perceived reality of the price. Then there's trigger 8, the reason why. Humans are meaning-seeking creatures. We need to know why things are happening. There's a famous study involving a photocopy line. A researcher asked to cut in line saying, "Excuse me, may I use the Xerox machine?" And about 60% said yes. But when she said, "May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush," the number jumped to 94%. Even more insane when she said, "May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make copies," which is a totally redundant reason, the number stayed at 93%. The word "because" is a psychological shortcut. If you give people a reason for your price, a reason for your sale, or a reason for your mission, they are significantly more likely to comply with your request. The ninth trigger is specificity. Generalizations are the enemy of trust. If you tell me your software helps people save time, I probably won't believe you. But if you tell me your software helps the average marketing manager save exactly 4.2 hours every Tuesday, I'm intrigued. Specific numbers feel like they were earned through data and hard work. Round numbers feel like they were pulled out of the air. When you use specific numbers in your sales and leadership, you instantly increase your believability. It shows you've done the math, and it forces the customer's brain to visualize the actual result. Finally, the 10th trigger, curiosity. This is the open loop effect. Your brain hates an unfinished story. It's why you stay up until 2 a.m. watching a show you don't even like. You just have to know what happens next. In business, the best way to keep a customer engaged is to open a loop and delay the closing of it. Tell them about a problem they didn't know they had. Hint at a solution that's coming in the next email. The moment a human feels like there is a gap in their knowledge, they will move mountains to fill it. Selling isn't about giving all the answers. It's about asking the right questions that lead the customer to seek the answer from you. When you stack these 10 triggers together, reciprocity, social proof, scarcity, authority, liking, commitment, contrast, the reason why, specificity, and curiosity, you aren't just selling anymore, you're orchestrating human behavior. But remember, with great power comes the responsibility to actually deliver. Psychology can get someone to open their wallet once, but only a world-class product and a self-running system can keep them coming back for a decade. Most people are so caught up in the grind of the daily sale that they never build a business that can actually breathe on its own. They are the engine, the fuel, and the driver all at once. Are you ready for the complete self-running business system? We've created what we truly believe is the best business course on the market. We don't just talk about psychological triggers, we show you exactly how we build businesses that run entirely without us, using these principles to create automated growth. You can sign up 100% free, no credit card required, and get instant access to the full course intro right now. The link is in the description, and it's also the very next video you see on your screen. It's time to stop chasing every sale and start building a system that attracts them while you sleep. I'll see you in there.